Hey guys, and welcome back. So for today's Dragon Ball Legends video, this is going to be a quick hitter beginner guide type of video, not really, just beginner tips, in which case we're going to go over some things that I think beginners should focus on, or not really focus on, if you will, when it comes to the game. So I hope that you guys enjoy this video. If you find this helpful, please remember to hit that thumbs up and that subscribe button so you can see other content like this from me, as well as gameplay videos and other stuff. So as somebody that's been playing this game since it first came out, I'm super stoked that it made it all the way through to the 5th year, and it's going to keep on going strong. So I also did a full in-depth beginner guide with everything that you need to know about a lot of different topics, and I also did a team building guide, an equipment guide, and all that stuff. It's a lot of content that I think you guys should check out when you finish this video. I'll leave those down below in the description. So for today's video, like goal is going to be 800, so be sure to hit that thumbs up, and here we go. So my very first tip, I know this goes without saying, but I am going to say it anyway. Please remember to have fun. This is a gacha game. It is going to be frustrating sometimes. It is going to be tough to deal with sometimes when you're looking for some of these characters. You can and can't get these characters because there's just stuff that goes into that, and that's normal. But above all else, please play the game as long as you will because you enjoy it. Don't feel obligated or anything like that. Please just play it for your own enjoyment. And obviously, when you start off this game, especially if you haven't ever played it and you're playing it for the first time, or you did play it, maybe you played it a couple years ago and you're starting it again, there are going to be a lot of things in this game that are going to be overwhelming probably to look at. The game's going to have changed if you've played it before. It's going to be a lot of information that's in your face, which again, that's why I would recommend checking out my guide. Just shameless plug, but try not to be overwhelmed either. Take your time with it, learn it as you go, and you'll be all right. Now, the number one most important tip that I have for you guys other than that is make sure you're completing the story. Now, trust me, I'm kind of a bad example because I do spend money on the game, and I am cool with that. And if you want to do that, that's your prerogative. But anyway, complete the story, and not just complete it. Make sure that because also the story is pretty cool. There's some really cool stuff in here. You learn more about the original characters from this game, like Shallot and Giblet, and just a bunch of characters. So definitely read the story if you want to. It's a fun experience. It really is. But also, when you're completing it, complete all these objectives to get all the Chrono Crystals, because the Chrono Crystals here are your #1 currency. The most important thing you can do to start off the game, to also just spend time practicing and learning some of the battle mechanics and stuff like that, is to do this. Complete the story in its entirety, or as much as you can, and as you go. There are also going to be some characters they give to you that are older characters, but are characters that you can use to build an early party and stuff like that. And actually, Shallot, the game's mascot, just got a massive overhaul and is actually really, really good again for the first time in years. So he's a character that can be a linchpin for you in terms of team building and starting off strong in the game. But start here and basically avoid PvP. When you're starting out, avoid PvP as well. That's a little bit of a side note, but yeah, don't bother with PvP unless you've played the game before, which you wouldn't be watching this video, I guess, if you're cool with this part of the video and you don't mind playing PvP. Yeah, unless you played, you know how to play the game, you got the mechanics down, all that stuff. You know, don't really go to PvP because it'll probably be a bad experience. Also, when it comes to getting your characters, I talked about how the game will give you a bunch of them just from story, and the mascot and all that stuff is cool, but nothing matters if you don't actually train your characters. Be sure you come here and train your characters, and also from there you soul boost them so that way they have all of their stats and stuff, because you don't want to be missing anything. Look at this. They're getting, you know, thousands or hundreds of stats depending on what it is. You want to make sure you have all of that stuff done so your characters are as good as they can possibly be when it comes to starting out strong. And there's a lot that goes into characters. There's character colors, there's character battle styles and stuff, but I'll save most of that for my team building guide videos. But another thing you really want to know is how to build your team. Build your team effectively early so that way you can get through most of the content. A lot of content is going to require you to have, you know, different things. They'll say, oh, have Shallot on this stage if you're playing story, or oh, have 2 purples on your team and land a hit with those characters, etc., etc. You pick. But anyway, build your team effectively to try to meet those requirements, or just to make it easier for you to play the game. That's another thing you're going to definitely going to want to do. And speaking of which, I talked about Chrono Crystals earlier. So here's the deal. Chrono Crystals are a huge resource. They're the most important resource in the game. And these daily discount summons are a really good tool that players over the years have used to potentially get lucky and get a character that's very good. Now, I wouldn't recommend coming here and doing all of the ones that are available, because sometimes there's only 2 right now, but sometimes there's like 5 or whatever. I wouldn't recommend doing those on a daily basis because it's going to be really, really hard to do the next tip that I'm going to give you, which is save your chrono crystals for a good value banner. Spoiler, that's the next tip. It's going to be really hard to do that if you're coming here and you're spending all of your crystals. You know, people always say, oh, I'm low on crystals, but really this game gives out tens of thousands of chrono crystals a month. Most of the time it's between 10 and 20. Sometimes it's a little bit above 20. Now, albeit you will have to complete all the content available to you, and you also got to not be doing this. If you're trying to stockpile, you can do some of these, but don't do like 3 or 4 a day, because that's going to add up quickly on you. So my next point is save for good value banners. Now, what are good value banners? Those are going to be ones that typically have step-ups on them, and also most of the time will have a new character. This one isn't a new character step-up, but they're typically going to have a step-up, you know, where you can get 3 summons and then get 1 free. That's what's happening here. So you get 40 characters for the price of 30. There are going to also be some discounts on some of them. There are going to be some like this one, which is a guaranteed Legends limited 5 times only. This is actually a really good starter banner to come here and potentially get some really solid characters to start off with strong. So if you're a new player, if this banner's up at the time you're playing, because it will be for another couple of weeks, I wouldn't skip this. I would actually kind of go to this banner personally. There's some solid characters in here. Not the best, but some solid characters that can get you started strong. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, when it comes to character acquisition, you may know what re-rolling is. If you don't know what re-rolling is, just go to Google, type in what is re-rolling. Seriously, basically that's where you start over the game over and over and over, start the tutorial, do the tutorial summons, do the first summons that you get from whatever currency they gave you, whether it's a multi-summon or a single bunch of singles, whatever it is, and you do that until you get the character you desire. Start over, delete the app, whatever it is. There's different processes, and go from there. I would recommend starting off with some strong characters, some good characters from Gacha Summons. There are going to be various tier lists and stuff online you can check out. That stuff is kind of subjective, but you can do that too. So anyway, start off strong. Don't go on all these banners. If you're going to summon, wait for more valuable banners, stuff like that. But the good news is, especially as long as you avoid PvP, a lot of the characters, because there's lots of them, a lot of the characters, especially of sparking rarity and up, are going to be usable to an extent for you in events or things like that. And there is value in just having, so don't skip these characters even if they're older. There is value to have them leveled up too, because you'll be able to use them in content too. So even if they're not the best characters, they're old or whatever, maybe they're an old free character, which is probably not very good, there's still value to have them leveled up because you can use them in some other events as well. So keep that in mind. And the final thing I want to kind of mention is equips. So I have another guide for equips. Equips are very, very important in this game, but please do not get hung up on equips, especially when you're building your game, your account out, and you're just starting out. If you want to know what equips are best, check out that guide video. I'll go over an explainer for that. But every character basically has a recommended section in which if you were to go over to party formation, click on your character, click on recommended, they will show you also, if you're looking to build your teams, recommended allies. But I mean, if you're a new player, you probably don't got 3 ultras in the case of Gogeta here. I digress. Anyway, we'll go to equips, and they'll show you the 6 most commonly used equips by people that play the game. So this is a really good resource, but don't stress on this. I really, really, really advise not stressing on this. This is something you can come back to at any time. Just get some good equips, ones that you like, ones you think are solid. Don't worry about getting them to come back as an S or a Z, things like that. Don't worry about stuff like that until you are ready to start progressing and min-maxing from there. Any other thing that I would really recommend is, and we talked about story, but also come to the events. Complete these original series. You're going to get a lot of the same resources as you would in story mode. You're going to get some Zenkai Awakenings, things like that. You'll figure you'll figure out what that is as you play the game. Excuse me. There are also going to be events here that you can complete for various other resources that you should be doing as well. Even if I myself haven't done a couple of these, I digress. Anyway, these are things that you should be doing if you're a new player or a beginner when it comes to Dragon Ball Legends, because again, there's a lot here. I mean, it's really easy to see how this could be overwhelming and all that stuff, but try not to really worry about it too much, especially if you're somebody that's played before. You kind of know the basis of this, but the game is in a really good state in terms of the way that they've designed it. I mean, there's a little bit of a different discussion point for people that are playing the game, if they're happy with the state of the game in terms of character releases and resources and stuff like that. But in terms of the way that they've designed the game, I think it's really new player friendly. They've concised a lot of menus. They've done some handholdy stuff in here. So I think you guys should be all right in terms of this game. The final tip is don't play this game. Just kidding. Kind of. I enjoy the game, okay? But people will tell you not to play. Just if you like it, play it. All right, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.